Hello and welcome to another episode of Film Freaks with a Z, the podcast all about movies. Each episode is about a single movie, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But first, it's that time once again for the fan vote. We have four movies for you to vote on, and the vote will be done on my Twitter account at Yemmy the Ferret, and it will be attached to the episode, the promotion for the episode. So, if you want to go ahead and vote, I would highly suggest you do. If there is a tie in the end, we choose whichever one was winning the longest, which I do keep an eye on that. I got my eagle eyes on that. The movies you can pick from are Starship Troopers, which was recommended by Iovio, but I think he goes by a different name now, and also we haven't seen him in a while, so who knows. Blade Runner, which was recommended by Obi-Wan Kenobi. Big Trouble in Little China, which was recommended by Chaz, and Pitch Black, which was recommended by Slap. If you want to vote for any of those four movies there, go ahead and swing on over to my Twitter account and make your voting or do your voting. Whatever. All right, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves before we introduce the movie. I am Yemmy the Ferret. Who am I here with?
Greedy Rim.
Okay, Danger Gypsy Mation.
Oh no, I completely forgot about the nicknames. I have nothing prepared.
Don't worry, Callus. I did too.
Callus is Jaeger Callus. I don't know. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Yemmy the Jaeger. There we go. That's a good.
Oh yeah,
That-
Yemmy the
yeah, that
Jaeger.
fits.
That's good. That's good.
Oh, can I change my to
Of
Kaiju
course.
Blue?
Yeah, sure. Actually, a lot of these kaiju were blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of the Some
Yeah,
of the
all their
Jaegers
blood
are
is blue too. So
And it
There
starts
you
with K, so it's perfect.
yeah.
All works. But yeah, how are you guys doing today? Happy Father's Day, Callus.
Yes.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
Father's
Happy
Day,
Father's
guys.
Day.
Appreciate it.
And happy Father's Day to those who have pets as well.
Yes,
Those
thank
count
you.
too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They do
Yeah,
count.
Yummy.
As
my
I said on
babies.
Twitter, people who own pets should also celebrate Father's and Mother's Day with their pets.
Absolutely.
Indeed,
Uh, but I don't know if you guys would want a kaiju as a pet. Tay, would you start off and tell us what movie did you pick?
I picked Pacific Rim from 2013, directed by Guillermo. I can't talk right now, guys. I'm sorry. Guillermo del Toro. Stars Idris Elba, Charlie Hunnam, Rinko Kikuchi, as well as a bunch of others.
Don't
So
forget
war
about Charlie
between
Day.
Charlie
Yeah,
Day,
Charlie
of course.
Day.
Can't forget Charlie Day. As a war between humankind and monstrous sea creatures wages on, a former pilot and a trainee are paired up to drive a seemingly obsolete special weapon in a desperate effort to save the world from the apocalypse. So I'm starting the conversation here, and I wanted to ask you guys like how you felt about like the CGI here, because that's what I do. That's my thing, I guess. That's what I'm known for. I feel like the CGI still really holds up very well. But what do you guys think?
It was really weird because it was great throughout the movie, and I hate to jump to the end, but I felt like the end scene where they're just standing on the whatever you want to call it, the life things. I don't know if that was CGI, but it seemed off-putting.
It was
That whole scene, like that zoom out and everything, just seemed off, and that's where I really noticed. I was like, "Is that CGI or is that just?"
It's a bad green screen. Apparently, it was a reshoot, and they just didn't have time to make it match up with everything else.
But yeah, that was the only time I noticed something, which is not bad, the last 5 seconds of the movie. And I was like, oh. But everything else, I thought it was really well done for a 2013 movie.
Well, Greed is talking about like all the way in the end, but I want to bring up the thing that I noticed like right in the beginning, like when they showed the first kaiju. That's when I was like, "Oh, is this CG gonna be kind of rough?" Because like that first kaiju they showed is, I don't know why, but that one seemed to look the worst to me out of all of them. But as the movie progressed, I thought that everything else looked great. Like it does hold up.
Are you talking about the one that like you see just barely like destroying the bridge, or like the first one they actually fight?
I guess the first couple, like when they showed like the montage or whatever.
Gotcha.
The aliens
So the
attacking
begin
they forgot to render the kaiju until later in the movie.
Yeah.
so the beginning and the end, they really dropped the ball here.
Middle was good.
Middle is great.
Yeah, I thought the CG was fine, especially when it's like all CG. But I mean, when they're showing like the people inside the suits, that looked good too. I think it all looked pretty good.
Yeah. Now I
A lot
wonder
of
how
great
much
like lighting effects too. Like when the
Oh yeah.
kaiju light up, they looked really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the robot, the guns, the cannons lighting up too. Those all look good.
Yeah.
The lighting was really good too.
Yeah. I wonder how much of the cockpit was CGI versus like a practical set.
It's hard to say because a lot of it looked practical.
Yeah.
So they either did an incredible job with the CGI, or they did an incredible job with the set.
That is a really good question because a lot of the cockpit was like covered by bright lights that were obviously CGI, but yeah, you couldn't really like put too much of an eye on the actual set because everything's just covered in lights and flashing lights.
Yeah. I bet it was more a blend of sets and just compositing stuff on top with some CGI.
You know
That
what
is. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what I did really like is the building destruction. Like every time something is being destroyed and you see all the rubble and particle effects, I thought that looked great. I really enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah, one of the best building destruction scenes was when that one kaiju who can spit acid spits on the building. I thought that was an exceptionally good CG shot, I guess you could say.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm surprised that kaiju didn't, or kaiju didn't use that tactic more often.
Well, they ripped his
tongue
sack.
out. So.
Yeah.
Well,
like
after, but
the sack of whatever was spewing the acid, they totally removed that.
For that scene, I mean, he used a big portion. Like he spit a lot on the Russian kaiju. I forget the name of it.
Or Jaeger.
So yeah. So I was guessing he needed to like recharge his spit tanks.
Had a refill.
Yeah.
I would like to say it ain't a monster movie without the Golden Gate Bridge getting destroyed, and they just cut right to the chase on this one. It was like the first thing in the movie.
They took no time. It's like 10 seconds in. They're like, you know what? Let's get this out of the way now.
Yeah.
And then they
Why
never
wait?
went back to it, so it's good.
Well, yeah, they got the Jaeger program got transported over to Hong Kong, which is where the rest of the movie takes place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it's always the Golden Gate Bridge and like either Hong Kong or Tokyo. It's like those three always.
Well, in that one Transformers movie, I think they did both in the same movie.
Yeah.
They were in like Arizona for a while, and then they were like, okay, let's go to China. And they
Yeah, I think they did that too in the last like King Kong movie, where it was just like, here's Japan, here's China, here's San Francisco. Like all three got hit.
Yeah, it's a big market over there, so it makes
Yeah.
sense that they include them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you think that like Hong Kong would get attacked pretty quickly. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird that it was still standing at the end.
Yeah.
Like,
So this movie obviously takes a lot of source material and like homages to anime movies, especially Evangelion. And I don't know if any of you have ever watched Evangelion at all. I tried once. I didn't really actually care for it.
I've heard a lot of make things. I've wanted to watch it, but I never got a chance to.
Yeah. Well, from what I hear, or from my experience, though, people who watched it in like junior high school love it. And if you're older at that point, it's just too much teen drama that it's just like, ugh.
I see.
Sounds like the second movie.
Yeah, the second movie went a little too deep into that. But even so, were there any like references to animes that you guys may have caught, or like maybe something you saw like that's got to be like a reference, even if you hadn't seen it?
I'm trying to think. I mean, the animes that I watched when I was a kid was like Dragon Ball, One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. I don't think I recognized anything from any of those.
Yeah, I was the
mean,
same. I
they're
didn't watch a ton of Gundam animes.
Oh yeah, Gundam. Yeah, I forgot about that.
that's what I was gonna say. There's like so many giant mech animes out there. They're they're it's pretty obvious that they had to like draw inspiration from those, but yeah,
Yeah,
haven't really seen too many of them.
Yeah, now that you mention that, like I could get like anime like vibes from the girl. What's her name? Marco?
Mako.
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 Make Mako. So like I could get like anime vibes from her. Like she could probably play that role. But yeah, now that you said that, like the monsters and the robots and all that, yeah, definitely big
Yeah,
anime vibes.
yeah. And so, um, what year did Godzilla come out? 2014,
Yeah, it was a year after this.
Yeah.
which is just crazy because like we got this, which delivered like Transformers before this. That was the one that everyone compared it to, where it's like
Mhm.
you have these big metal robots fighting, but the way they filmed them, and the camera is just like right up in their armpit and you can't tell what's going on. This one they actually delivered, pulled the camera back and went, here's everything, here you go, enjoy.
Yeah, they did what Godzilla 2014 couldn't, which is actually show
Yeah.
the action, show
Yeah,
what everyone's there for, you know?
That was
yeah,
actually one of my talking points is how we actually got to see the fights and know it's instead of, like, oh, here comes, Godzilla and here comes, the monster and then about to crash and then,
It
it
cuts.
cuts, yeah, it
Yeah.
cuts to, the baby girl again. And it was like, oh,
Or you just see it on
yeah,
like a TV in the background,
yeah.
yeah. I do
But I also,
appreciate that. Yeah, they showed the fights and they delivered. There's a lot of fights, so they definitely delivered on that.
Yeah, I also
Hold
did
on.
want to make a point earlier is some of the fights, they do show a lot, but there's also a lot of like I don't want to say like cover ups, but like a lot of water splashing, which I know most of it was in like the sea, but like a lot of water splashing, a lot of dust. So it's like sometimes hard to like notice or like see what was going on.
Yeah,
Not
especially
some
that
battles.
last fight. I've
Yeah.
always kind of thought that about the last fight. It was hard, always hard to see. I don't know if the brightness on our TV was up or something because I actually could kind of tell what was going on this time.
Yeah. And the lights from like the helicopter and from the Jaegers too
Yeah,
made it hard sometimes.
They definitely seemed like they were trying to like not cover up the special effects, but kind of what am I trying to
CGI.
say? Yeah, like the
Yeah, cover
CG,
the CGI. Yeah, that's what I
like
was thinking too. Like during that, yeah,
blend the CGI into the environments. That's what I was trying to
yeah.
say.
Well, CGI is definitely easier to hide if your lighting is not super bright. Like, if the texture's off and looks weird, if it's dark, you can't see that. So,
Hmm.
so that is definitely a thing that they do. Not just Pacific Rim, but other movies will do to make the CGI look more convincing, and that's why you'll see some CGI in movies look so bad. And it's just because like they decided to do something in like the brightest part of the day out in the open, and you're just like, man, this looks dumb.
Yeah. I don't mean to sidetrack this conversation, but I wanted to bring up real quick that I just looked up now. There is actually a Pacific Rim anime series that's on Netflix.
oh
Yes, I've
really?
watched
Looks
it.
maybe you can tell us a little bit about it.
So it takes place, if I remember right, after two. Basically, the kaiju come back.
Oh,
Yet
big
again.
surprise.
Yeah, well, they came back at two. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I
this
mean
time
there is a
they
second
actually,
Pacific Rim.
yeah, they like have taken over like Australia, pretty much. It's just kaiju territory. Um, and so it follows some characters who refugees in Australia, trying to survive and stuff. It's pretty good.
Interesting.
It's a little, it follows teens again because that's what animes do.
Of
Um,
course.
yeah, but they like find an old practice Jaeger, like for training purposes, but it still works, and so they take that and go searching for their parents who disappeared a few years back in a
Isn't
Jaeger.
that the second movie? I feel like that's like the plot of the second movie.
Now the second movie is the Charlie Day is the bad guy because he was because of the drift, the monsters or aliens or whatever took control of his body and they reopened the rift.
Oh, I did not remember that.
Yeah.
Well, it's a
Spoilers
very
for the second
forgettable
one, by the way.
movie.
Spoilers for the second movie. Sorry. This is why it's not as good as this movie, because Charlie Day is just so much cooler as a bumbling scientist and not a
Bad guy.
weird alien bad guy.
All right. Anybody else have any comments about that?
No.
Okay.
But I would like to continue the conversation
On the first movie.
on the first movie. Yes,
That's what I was going to lead to.
so I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I felt like the first like half of this movie really dragged.
Yep.
Like a lot. Until like the first major fight in the movie where all three of the Jaegers are out in the field and they get like destroyed in one fell swoop. I like, the opening happens and you're like, okay, cool. And then there's like a whole like 30 or 40 minutes of this movie where it's just like a, training and doing all the stuff with the main characters, and it was just very dull in my opinion. Like there was really nothing much interesting going on.
Yeah, my biggest gripe with this movie was it focused way too much on Mako, whatever the hell her name is. And I just felt like that's the reason why it took a big toll, is because they focused way too much on her and the relationship between the big man guy, the Marshall. Yeah, and
Big man guy.
I felt like they just focused on that way too much.
See, I didn't mind that actually. It's
Really?
fun to get to. I liked that we got to know these characters, learn a little bit about their backstory, learn a little about the world itself.
It was a little too much on her, though.
Yeah, I don't mind learning about characters, but they made it very, very boring. Yeah. It just wasn't very interesting. They could have done something interesting, but they really didn't. Like that part where she's in the dream world or whatever, and she's stuck in there. That just I felt like that was like 10 minutes long. I was like, Jesus Christ, how long are we gonna show this little girl running in the street crying? Like, come on. I understand it's character, character development and stuff like that, but cut it down a little bit. Like, come on.
Yeah, we didn't have to see the scene like go back to it. It felt like it cut back to it like 5 times.
I do agree with Tate that I didn't really mind that whole portion of the movie too much, but I do agree with you guys that a lot of those scenes did drag out, especially that scene where the little girl. That was a little bit way too long, but
yeah, they definitely could have cut it down a little bit, but
I felt like this movie could have been an hour and a half, like maybe a little less.
Maybe.
I'm not saying that the movie's terrible, but I'm saying like after that whole section where we're just kind of learning about the characters, that's when I got into it. First half of the movie I was like, oh, starting to fall asleep a little bit. Second half of the movie when the Jaegers get attacked by 2 kaiju instead of 1, then I went, yes, we're getting to it. And the rest of the movie, boom, it goes off. It's great. Rest of the movie is fantastic. All right, but the first half of the movie, I almost couldn't. I almost couldn't.
I agree with that 100%.
I forget his name. The guy who's like the collector dude with the crazy shoes.
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman's character, something.
Yeah, Hannibal. He was my favorite character in the movie. He had a very small role, but I really enjoyed him, especially how he used the knife on Charlie Day's nose. I really like his character, his vibe.
What's he from? He's from other movies too, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he was Hellboy, the original Hellboy.
Hellboy, that's it. Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. He was in that sniper movie we watched a while back. Which one was that?
Oh, yeah, it was
Enemy
the general.
at the Gates.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was. Okay.
He's one of the generals. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but I thought he was very underused. Also, I didn't really. I guess because I didn't really see enough of him, I didn't really think he was like that big of a. He was like very memorable for sure, but not like an important character to the movie.
Well, he's important enough. I mean, he's running the whole racket with the kaiju parts, so he's able to. Well, I guess technically he's not able to get to the brain because all of his guys get wiped out by the baby kaiju. But if all had gone to plan, he would have gotten the brain to Charlie. But yeah.
Wait, did you guys see the after credits
Post?
scene?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry.
That's going to be my question next too.
Yeah,
still
he
alive.
survived.
Just making sure.
And I mean, he got a brain to Charlie Day in the long run. It was just a baby brain.
Yeah.
It works in the end.
Yeah.
I do find that whole scene where the baby comes back to life kind of like ridiculous. It's almost like they needed like something to happen there after all that.
Well, yeah, they
Yeah.
needed,
It's-
like a way to make the scientists, like be like, oh, it's not going to work, that kind of thing.
Well, I was more so thinking like they needed something like Deep Blue Sea, where the shark
Yeah.
comes out of nowhere and kills a person.
Yeah.
They I think that's what they were going for. They needed something just kind of like snappy, something that kind of gets you to jump a little bit, maybe.
Wake up.
And
Because it was dead. It was dead in quotation, and then it comes back to life for 5 seconds, eats him,
then
and
dies
then
again.
dies again.
But it was also kind of predictable. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it was very predictable. It wasn't as exciting. It wasn't as stunned. Well, what the word I'm looking for? It wasn't as
surprising
as Deep Blue Sea, of course.
Well,
but
and it wasn't a character you necessarily really cared about at that point. You met this guy
that's true.
twice,
Mm-hmm.
and he was kind
He's
of a
just cool,
jackass. Like he's a cool character.
You don't want him to die. He's too cool to die.
Yeah, he is a
No,
cool character and
shoes.
stuff, but you weren't super attached to this guy.
No, yeah, he was a huge asshole during the movie, but
Yeah, that's what I was
good
gonna say.
character,
They made him out to be sort of like the bad guy asshole, that's got what he deserves in the end, blah blah blah. But then
did he?
Yeah,
no. Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, what character could they have replaced him with to make it more of a surprise? And I guess
Like
it would have
what
been
I'm
one of the doctors. It would,
Yeah,
one of the scientists.
yeah.
Be like, oh no, he's getting eaten, and then he comes out with this knife, and he's like, oh, I'm here. Then he does the the neural stuff together. That would have been a good build up. No.
Well, I mean, you have to think that baby kaiju didn't have teeth yet. Really, it just gummed him, swallowed him, and since he had a knife on him, he was able to get out before he corroded away. Plus, it was dead, so I don't know if its digestive systems were even working anymore. So
I don't know.
I don't know. I agree. It was a little unnecessary. I don't think they needed it, but
What do you guys think of? Well, go ahead.
So maybe Ron Perlman just actually had something else he had to get to. So he's like, "Hey, can we just real quick? I know I have more scenes, but let's just kill me off here because I've got things to do. An emergency has come up."
So, what do you guys think of the more quirky things in the movie? Like, there's that one scene where the giant Jaeger fist is going through the building and starts the Newton's cradle.
I really enjoyed those scenes.
So dumb, but so
So
awesome.
And then
Yes.
they go through the building. It's like, oh, that was pointless.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and
Yeah,
you see
I like
that
those
time they
things.
bumped the seagulls off,
Yeah. Yep.
so again, so dumb, but so awesome.
And it happens so much within the fights too, where all of a sudden the Seeger now has the sword, and this other one just has another special ability that they hadn't been using this whole time.
So I was talking to my wife about that actually, and she made a good point that at the very beginning of the battle, they were going off of Raleigh's knowledge and fight skills because she was new.
Mhm.
So as far as Raleigh knew, they didn't have a sword because he wasn't looking in her brain for that information. And so that's why he was using a boat. And it wasn't until they were at emergency that she went, no, wait, there is something else we can do. That was her theory for why it went down. And I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good theory, I guess.
I rejected that theory. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
How
The
about we
sword
give
is
credit to
too
that,
OP not to start with the sword.
Yeah, that
This
that
ain't
would've
this
been
ain't the Mighty
game over.
Morphin Power Rangers. They don't have to react to the power levels. They can start with the sword.
Yep, exactly.
And that's the other thing too, where they just use fists and
Mhm.
kicks or whatever so often, where when they have so many other things available to them, we
Yeah.
know from the beginning that missiles and tanks, they can take down the smaller kaijus at least, but with the big ones, well, then they just use more missiles and more tanks or whatever.
Yeah, the one scene I would like to point out to that point, they have the Jaeger, I think it's the Russian Jaeger. I don't think it's the triple Japanese guy Jaeger. They punch the kaiju and he's like down for the count. And instead of like doing something close up with it, like punching it more or whatever, they throw it into the ocean. And I'm like, how much damage is this thing taking from being thrown?
Yeah.
You kind of
Well, they
fucked
did that.
yourself there.
Yeah, they did that a lot. They were like just throwing these monsters. I was like, yeah, you probably might want to do a little more damage and just throwing.
Guys,
at least 3 times.
Keep in mind, if we remove the fist fighting and they just one shot these things with swords, we don't get cool monster robot fights.
I mean, you just replace the throwing with something else. Have a I don't know, have a missile hit it, and then they'd be like, oh my god, the plating on his head is too powerful, and then they get spit on or whatever. But when you throw a giant monster into water, what are we doing?
Especially a monster that came out of the water and can swim.
Right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
There's a few of those scenes where like the Jaegers lifted up the kaijus over their heads. I thought they were gonna do either like a suplex or break their backs over their knees or something like that.
See, that would have been cool.
Rip them apart,
cool.
But no, instead they just throw them into the water.
Lift the Jaeger up, over your head, and then they pull the sword out and just like stab them. I don't know.
Which they did do, I think, eventually in like the ocean fight.
On one of them,
yeah. They quickly learned that like Raleigh, like I said, he didn't know about the sword. Once he did, he's like, why aren't we using the sword more often?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the sword's so sharp that it just cut straight through a charging kaiju. Like, just start with a sword next time. How about that?
But
none of this bullshit with the spinning saw blades and the super punch and just give every Jaeger a sword.
A sword and giant ass guns like the Australian one had.
Yes. Well, I guess we need to watch Pacific Rim Uprising then to see if they start with the swords, see if they learned the lessons.
They didn't.
You go ahead and recommend that.
You can rewatch that, or you can watch that. I remember like there was in the second movie there's like a Jaeger with like a ball and chain or something like that, and I'm like, how effective is this bullshit gonna be against a kaiju? Like, they're much more maneuverable than any robot you have, and you're walking around with a fucking ball and chain. Like, what are we doing here? That's also, spoilers for that movie again. Like, that's also another movie where like all the main Jaegers, they build them all up and then they all just get destroyed in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
Except for the main one.
Yeah, except for the main duo. If I remember correctly.
If I remember right, they eventually kind of Voltron it and turn into like a super Jaeger.
Yeah, but about that, still, they all get taken out in one swoop, pretty much. In that.
No, no, like it's because of that like some nanobots or something, they're able to merge them all. I don't remember.
Bullshit. Who knows?
Yeah. It wasn't as good as this one.
Yes, stick to the first one.
Yeah, back to the first one.
It's good to note that Guillermo del Toro had nothing to do with the second movie. So obviously there was a stylistic change, writing change, directing change. But yeah,
I thought he did help produce it though.
He probably just gave some like quick feedback.
He's a producer, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 producers on the movie. So
Dang. Why do you need that many people?
Jeez. To fund it.
I guess so.
That was Michael B. Jordan, or no, it was John Boyega, the Star Wars guy. Yeah.
That was like the first time I seen him in a movie, and I was like, oh boy, this guy's gonna do Star Wars. But
he did fine.
Yeah, backing up a little bit, what do you guys think of the hateful relationship between Charlie and other
scientists?
Yeah, no. Charlie's the pilot.
Raleigh.
Is it Raleigh?
Yeah. Raleigh.
Okay.
And the other Australian guy.
Yeah, what do you guys think of those little hatred?
Well, the Australian guy is very much an egotistical jerk, but by the end, he kind of learns his lesson, and he's like, all right, I guess time to blow up.
He's Australian?
He was Australian.
The one with the dog, right?
Yeah.
I thought they were like German or something.
No.
Yeah, wrong side of the planet there.
But
What
yeah,
do
I
you
was
guys
gonna
think
bring up.
the
Go ahead.
What do you think the purpose of the dog was in the movie? Just like try to make you feel emotional at the end?
Well,
Like,
it was his dog.
It was his
You
dog.
like
Their
dags?
mascot.
You like
You like
dags?
dags?
You like
eggs?
dags?
Oh yeah,
Someone needs a
it
dag.
was his mascot too because he
Yeah.
had it on
The
his coat and
patch.
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
We know that we don't need a reason for pets to be in the movie.
Yeah, we don't need a reason for
Exactly.
the dog. The dog can just be there.
People
Dag.
have
Yeah, the
dogs.
dag. Yeah, the dag can be there.
Dags.
Yeah.
Dags will never die.
Anyways, go
But
ahead,
no,
Joe.
I was gonna bring up like the acting in the movie since we're starting to talk about the characters. What did you guys think overall of all the acting, especially with the Rally, the main guy? Because I don't ever remember seeing him in anything before or after this movie, so he hasn't really been in much, has he?
I think he has, but like he's like British or Australian himself. So like if you've seen him elsewhere, he probably had an accent and you didn't realize it was him. So I remember looking that up once, like, why haven't I seen this guy anywhere? And then I found out, oh no, he's been on other stuff.
I
So
think
he's
he
probably
went to
been on like a
the
lot of.
TV show route though.
Well, yeah, he went.
Yeah.
He had a role on Crimson Pink and the King Arthur show. I think it's a
And
King
then
Arthur show.
Sons of
Oh,
Anarchy too.
he was
Yeah,
King
Son of
Arthur.
Argy.
Yeah.
That's the other one. That was his main one.
So yeah, he took the TV show route.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, I don't really know of his other acting exploits, but I thought that he was kind of I don't know, kind of like a blank slate actor. You know, they kind of put him in the role, and he kind of was like everyone else who probably would have played that role.
Yeah, I feel
I
like
thought
he
he did-
was
He did
good,
fine.
not great.
I mean, yeah, he did fine, but he didn't do anything super special with the role. You know.
No, he was very much you're right, the blank slate, like the insert character where you go like, oh yeah, I could see this being me.
Yeah, he was very
Um,
mellow throughout the movie too.
yeah.
You know?
No, I thought he did.
I guess
fine
it's
job.
the kind of character you wanted. You know?
Yeah, Idris Elba, I thought did him as good as always.
Yeah, he was fine. I mean,
Marshall, yeah.
you know, I think most of the acting in the movie was just fine. It wasn't exceptional.
Yeah, and Charlie Day was Charlie Day as usual.
Yeah, Charlie Day has one character, and that's Charlie Day.
Yeah.
The crazy.
But I liked him in the movie. I thought he did a
He was
good
good, yeah.
job.
Yeah, and I thought
But
the
yeah,
other
I thought-
scientists did a good job too. Like just that awkward scientist role, I guess. I don't know. He did a good job, and he was, I think, German.
I do like
Honestly-
their relationship.
Yeah, and their
Honestly,
relationship was great.
Mako did the best out of them, even though I disliked how the story was on her the whole time.
You mean
but,
Mako?
yeah,
Mako.
whatever.
We'll get it
But yeah,
eventually.
I feel like she's the only one that like actually put emphasis into her role, and
Yeah, well,
felt
this
like
was-
she's the only one that wanted to be there, kind of feeling, you know.
No, I felt like Idris Elba wanted to be there too.
I think everyone was having a good time with the
Yeah.
movie. I don't think there was a person who was like, oh, doing this grudgingly. You know, especially like Perlman. What's his name? Ron Perlman.
Yeah, Ron Perlman.
He did. I mean, they're just. I think that everyone's just having fun. You know, just having fun with it.
Yeah. But Mako
Some
did.
people
I
were
thought she
more
did a
into it
good
than others.
job.
I guess.
I think this was one of her first movies, so maybe not. She did some bunch of Japanese stuff, I guess. Maybe. Let me see. Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably.
No,
Okay, well,
not even Japanese stuff. Just other stuff. I just had never seen her because I'd never seen any of these.
The one scene where like everyone's saying goodbye before the final mission, and they know they may not see each other ever again. They try to get very emotional there, and
Yeah.
I expected like so many scenes where they were just gonna go ahead and hug, and no one ever did. No one hugged in this movie, except the two scientist guys.
Yeah. I guess you kind of knew who was gonna kick the bucket in the two
Oh, yeah.
between the two pairs. But it would have been nice to see someone hug. You know, maybe Mako and her pseudo father hug. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would have made the most sense. Or the father and son, they're like very military minded and very strict. So I understand why they didn't hug or anything. They just said their goodbyes. But yeah, the father and daughter relationship,
I
they were
mean,
both trying to show like true emotions there. And
their relationship was very, like, I feel like he was trying to make it very like traditional Japanese type of relationship for her,
hmm.
slash, military on top of that. So I can see them not, just giving a nod and being like, "Yep, that means I love you."
Yeah. You know what this means. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
But it
And yeah,
was
this
going back to
game,
the quirky, the Riley or yeah, Riley,
Raleigh.
saying like I'm not breathing because she was hugging him too hard at the end,
Yeah.
and that was actually funny. I actually laughed at that.
You're crushing me.
Yeah. Then everyone's like, ah.
Yeah. No. Overall, it's a great, fun movie.
I
I
do I
guess.
do find it a little, going back to like the beginning-ish of the movie, I do find it kind of bizarre that the government just gives up on the Jaegers.
Yeah,
They
that
never
was
hear
weird.
anything again after that.
Like they think a wall is gonna keep out the fucking kaiju. Like
They got through it in an hour,
yeah.
which is like not surprising. They go through buildings like butter,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like this wall is just a really fat building.
Yeah.
It would have
pretty
been
much.
funny if they did another thing, like if they built it across the ocean and then they just came up from the ocean, just like around it, like underneath it.
No.
Well,
Yeah,
usually
that.
walls go all the way down.
Yeah.
But yeah, that made no sense at all as to like why they would just decide to stop fighting and instead focus on building giant walls instead of a different form of defense or offense. That just made no sense at all.
Yeah.
I also
What's
found
like?
it weird how we never heard from them again after that.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, who knows?
Well, that's because they didn't. They were out of their jurisdiction. They didn't have to talk to them anymore.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so.
Yeah, I mean that's why the what's Idris Elba? What's his
Marshall
name?
Pentecost.
Yeah, Pentecost. That's why like he went to Hannibal's character because to get more money from him since the government stopped giving them money, so he had to
Yeah.
like figure out a different way to take care of
Yeah.
themselves.
And they stopped the Jaeger program as well because like they couldn't build. They said they couldn't build the Jaegers fast enough because they were being destroyed. But it's like at that point, well, couldn't you build them bigger and sturdier?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what's the cost difference? Building the freaking wall and then rebuilding a city, or building one Jaeger that's tough enough to take out a couple kaiju? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. It's Hollywood, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just needed a reason, to add to the emotion.
Now, if we had seen one of those walls in action, like they had like I think they had like turrets on top with like,
Yeah.
it was like, show it in action maybe a little bit. Give us a reason to believe that they would switch over to the walls. Like have like a missile launcher on it, or maybe show the front of it like has reinforced. I don't know,
Spikes.
anything.
Barbs.
Just
Yeah.
anything.
It was a smooth wall.
Yeah, it's a smooth wall. It looks really great. It's bright white. And
Yeah.
aesthetically it looks great next to the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it couldn't even stop one kaiju.
Yeah, one kaiju.
I mean, it was a category 4. It was probably built to stop category 3s and lower, but
But
Eh.
then that goes back to why aren't they preparing bigger? Like
right?
they know bigger's
The-
coming, so why wouldn't they? Or maybe they didn't know at that time, but
Well,
they
they should have
assumed,
because like
Oh yeah, they started beating Jaegers, so obviously they were getting bigger and tougher.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the kaiju you see at the beginning that took on Yancey and Raleigh, that like killed Yancey, like that was the biggest category 3, which means like they know they're getting bigger.
Yeah.
They weren't
What-
prepared for that with a Mach 3.
Yeah. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
like a plot hole for me right there.
Yeah.
going away from the Jaegers to just build a wall. Like, okay.
I mean, I don't say it's a plot hole. I mean, it definitely sounds like something a government official would do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, maybe it's not a plot hole. It's just something
It's
so stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid for sure. But you have to remember, some people that run countries and governments are very stupid.
It makes no sense, and that's why they never went back to it ever again after they got left the construction job.
Well, I mean, you see that in the second one, they did go back to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
We're not
once
talking
again,
about the second one.
completely useless. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you guys want to talk about the alternate dimension? That whole
No.
scene where
Like the
I'm
fluidic
just kidding.
space.
I'm kidding.
when they go like through the portal into the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was trippy. That's for sure.
It looked very interesting, and like why does no one attack the Jaeger?
Because their kaiju are the only thing that could attack it, and
Yeah,
the kaiju
they're-
aren't ready.
Yeah, they were. I think they were babies, or like I don't think the queen like has attacking abilities.
The
I don't think
giant eye, you mean?
they aren't queen. Yeah, they aren't queens.
Well, yeah,
or, like,
they're they explain in the movie that all the kaiju are like clones.
yeah, and the little things we saw are the species sending them. They're trying to colonize our planet.
Yeah, they're trying to colonize and take all our resources and then move on to the next one.
Yep.
And it's kind of ridiculous to think about it, but they were like, "Oh, the dinosaurs were kaiju." I was just like, interesting.
I didn't know dinosaurs had 2 brains.
Oh yeah, that
Well, some of them might. I don't know. Oh, and the other thing that I wanted to bring up that didn't make too much sense is why would the baby itself have like memories of their plan and like everything that they're working on?
Because
If the baby
they
hadn't
were
even
all
been born
linked.
yet.
It was a hive
Oh,
mind.
the hive mind. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, for the
Carry
kaiju.
on. Carry on.
Yep,
yeah.
no problem.
Originally, I was going to come on here and kind of like criticize how the three big time Jaegers just got completely wiped out in one fell swoop. But then I was like, oh yeah, Charlie Day knew about all their weaknesses and all their plans. So of course they're gonna build kaiju who can send out EMPs and
Yep.
use spit to get through the armor and has that third appendage for a tail that will take out the triple Jaeger. Once I realized that, I was like, oh yeah, that's really actually smart of the writers right there.
Yeah. There was a lot of little things in this movie that are super like written well, like just some minor characterizations that like you get, especially between the scientists, where you just get like so much characterization about these two scientists with like just a little back and forth dialogue between them that I thought was really good.
Yeah, at first, when I first saw like the EMP go off, and then a little bit after the helicopter comes through to drop off the Rylu's Jaeger and all that, I was like, wait a minute, how did they do that? Then I realized because they were like, oh, the city powers out, and I was like, oh wait, the Jaeger takes a while to power back up. So I was like, oh, so I had to calm myself down for that scene because I was like flipping out. I was like, wait, how's that possible? Then I was like, oh wait, the Jaeger takes a while to power back up.
Well, the Jaeger, the Gypsy Danger Jaeger is powered by nuclear fission or something like that.
Yeah, that one I understood.
So it wasn't affected by the EMP.
But the helicopter carrying it in, I was like,
I was like,
how's that active?
Oh,
how's the helicopter? I've always wondered that. How's the helicopter working?
Helicopters don't make sense. But.
Two, just because
That's
it's
for the
nuclear,
Vegas.
it can still be affected by EMPs.
Yeah, but it looked like everything was.
But if it was like powered off, maybe.
Like they couldn't they wouldn't be able to power it off, but they could shut down all the computer systems that run everything.
That's true. Yeah.
But they did say that it takes like 2 hours to boot back up or something like that. So then I was like, oh, okay.
For the newer models.
For the Jaeger.
Yeah.
And
all
the
the
old one's probably
stuff.
much faster.
Yeah.
So, and it looked like the city lights were back on, so maybe just a quick EMP.
Or they forgot.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to make this a bright, lit city.
Yeah.
What EMP? There was no EMP.
Well, they took the fight to an
fight.
Yeah, they took a fight to the area where the EMP didn't hit.
Yeah.
It's not it's not a perfect movie. It's a stupid, awesome movie.
I'm sorry. I just noticed what Yemmy wrote as the title of the movie on the top.
Why don't you read it for us?
Yeah, read it out loud, Callus.
All right, fine. It says.
Let me get a good sound clip here.
Let me get closer to the mic. Pacific Rim Job.
So original.
There we go. New sound clip for Yemmy streams.
Oh yeah. I think Callus should get first dibs on that for his streams.
Yes.
I'll send it to him if he wants it.
No, Yemmy can have it.
That's actually perfect because next episode's episode 69. So
yeah,
there you go.
It's just going to be Callus saying Pacific Rim Job over and over.
That's our opening now.
Yeah.
Yemmy won't start it off anymore. It'll just be Callus.
All right.
Yeah.
Jinx, you owe me a soda.
Wow.
Anyone else have anything they want to bring up about the movie?
I think I'm good.
There was one thing I was thinking of, but I cannot for the life of me remember what it was.
Well, if you think about it,
I'll bring it up during my review if I remember.
Okay. Well, you got a little bit of time because Tay, you get to start us off with our final thoughts and rating.
Yeah, and Callus is next, so you don't have that much time. Obviously, I'll go slow. Yeah, obviously, overall,
slower.
Don't worry, I have a lot to say. Don't worry.
Okay.
This movie, overall, like I said, is it a stupid movie? Yes. Is it a fun, awesome movie? Also, yes. It's just so much fun. The music in it is amazing. We didn't really touch on that, but I just that theme song, I could listen to that all day. It pumps you up so much. It's just perfect. The CGI I thought held up pretty well. Like, yeah, there's a few little things here and there that maybe didn't, but overall the CGI is really good still. The story itself is an homage to anime, but it's still, it's kind of its own unique like twist on it. And I thought it was written well. Like I said, there's a lot of just little moments that help really like characterize people, or just like really good moments that you go like, okay, or like, yeah, as you were saying, they neuro links with Charlie, suddenly they produce kaiju that could fight the Jaegers better. The kaiju are always learning, and so just the little things like that just really help sell this movie. And then you get, like I said, stupid moments like the fist punching through the building and stopping right on that Newton's cradle to make it start going. Little dumb things like that. Overall, it just makes it a really fun, enjoyable movie. All you guys had the part of it that you thought was too slow, and I agree, some of it could have probably been cut down a little bit, but overall, like I said, I enjoyed it because it was good characterization and world building and such. Overall, obviously, I really love this movie. It's still one of my favorites, even though, yes, it is dumb, but it's great. So I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
All right. Well, I thought it was also a very fun movie. We could have probably spent a lot more time just nitpicking all the little things that didn't make sense or that were just kind of dumb. But the purpose of this movie is to entertain, and oh boy, did it entertain. And like the parts where like in the middle where it's just like character building and training and all this and that. By that point, I was like already kind of invested in the characters, so I didn't mind those parts too much, except for like the very few that did drag on too long, for like the whole drama between Mako as a child and her wanting to be accepted into the program and to be a pilot. That whole drama, a couple of those scenes kind of dragged on a little bit too long, but for the most part, I didn't think it was like an overly long movie. I thought it was fine. And where it's at for me is like the action, the destruction, the fights between the Jaegers and the kaiju. That all those were like, it was like very entertaining. I really enjoyed see the destruction, like seeing all that rubble and the particle effects and the lighting. Everything looked pretty cool and held up this many years later. Held up pretty well. But I would give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay. A little surprised by that number with how you've been
Yeah, I
talking
was
about it.
too.
Yeah, you're like hyping it up.
That's okay. You don't have to explain it. Um, okay, my turn. So I'm, you know what? Honestly, I'm right down the middle. I guess I'd have many more criticisms than Callus, but like the second half of the movie is when I got into it. Right, the first half I was just kind of like bored out of my mind. It felt like it was going by so slow. And I just like they could have had a few, maybe like a kaiju fight at somewhere in that open like first half of the movie that just kind of got a little bit of action in there, but there was just a lot of boring human interactions and like predictable like palettes for these characters. I'm the tough guy, I'm the guy who's the antagonist, but he's actually a good guy underneath. I'm sick and dying and I gotta save the world one last time. Like stuff like that, just kind of like very cliche, kind of annoys me, kind of bores me. But the movie, it's worth it to get through that stuff because the end of the movie is amazing. Like the second half of the movie is exactly what I wanted. It has the pace picks up, the character, like everything just becomes instantly more interesting and more fun to watch. So if the movie was just the second half, it would be a 5 out of 5. But since you got the first half in there, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay, yeah, I a little more down Yemi's path. Like I enjoyed like the first, couple minutes of the movie. Like the explanation of like how things are going, like how everything started. That was great. But then after that, it just takes a deep dive down. I know he's traumatized from his brother. No, that's all. That's fine. But then once you meet the girl character, just like that. My biggest gripe, they focus a little too much on her. I know that Callis and Tay said they liked it, but it just wasn't for me. I felt like it was a little too much. The ending scene, I agree with Yummy again. It's all worth it. It was great. The battle at the end was great, and then once the kaiju started like coming in at two at a time, three at a time, and they increased, the categories, all that was phenomenal. Charlie Day, he did great in this acting. I thought the actors were good. I thought, Marshall did a great job. Charlie did a great job again. But overall, I'm also going to give it like a down the road, middle kind of rating. I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Okay. Sorry to break your heart, Tay.
Oh, it's fine. I know the movie's not for everybody. I still love it.
All right.
Now we
All
got
right,
to
well,
see the second one. No, okay.
yeah, well, maybe you can recommend it, Greedy, since you're.
All right.
All right, well, Callus, you got the big important job of recommending a
Oh.
movie for episode 69.
69. Well, I have a feeling that Yemi already knows what I'm going to recommend. Right, Yemi?
Well, there's no Jackie Chan pornos that I can think of, so.
No, actually, I'm going to recommend a movie that I've thought a long time about recommending. A movie that I'd be surprised if any of you guys have watched, but it is, as I remember, a very good movie and one that needs to be watched by more people. It is called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, released in 2005. It stars Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer, Michelle Monaghan, a couple others. The basic plot is after being mistaken for an actor, a New York thief is sent to Hollywood to train under a private eye for a potential movie role. But the duo are thrown together with a struggling actress into a murder mystery.
Okay.
I've heard of it, but yeah, I haven't seen
No.
it.
Never heard of
Don't
it.
think.
So interesting.
None of you have seen it? Nice.
No,
Good.
I haven't seen it.
Excellent. It's a good one.
Awesome. So
Yep,
we
so you
got
don't-
Kiss Kiss and Bang
Hold
Bang
on, hold
for
on, hold
episode
on.
69.
Callus still has more information to tell us.
Oh.
Wait. Oh, the movie was directed by Shane Black. I already said who stars, but who it is? Yeah, who stars? Was there anything else?
Well,
Where
you
can we
get
find
on
it?
Amazon.
Oh, I actually am not sure.
Well, from what I'm seeing, you can get it on Amazon renting. It's also on the regular places like YouTube. There's also something called Canopy. You can stream it for free. I don't know what that is though. I'll probably just get it on Amazon.
Yeah, sorry if
Robert
it's not in
Downey
one of the
Jr., huh?
streaming services. Yep, another one of his earlier roles before Iron Man.
Yeah.
All right.
After he
Cool.
came back from rehab.
Well, all right. Sounds good. If you guys in the audience don't want to be spoiled, or if you want to join our discussion, make sure you watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang from 2005 to join in to the conversation. We'd appreciate all the listeners. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We really do appreciate that as well. Once again, don't forget that the fan vote is happening probably right now as you're listening to this. These episodes come out on Fridays, and I try to make the vote last all weekend. So if you want to go ahead and swing by my Twitter account at Yemmy the Ferret, you can vote on what you want us to talk about after Callus's episode. Just to run through the votes again, we have Starship Troopers, Blade Runner, Big Trouble in Little China, and Pitch Black. 4 movies that I'm fine with any of them winning, honestly.
It's too bad that Hardboiled is not on the running anymore.
It'll be back around
It'll be
eventually. Yeah,
All
don't
right.
worry about that. All right. You guys have anything else you want to say before we end the show?
Oh, you know what
your
I gotta say.
Specific job.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, make sure to wipe your ass or wash your ass or both.
Alrighty. Well, I am Yemmy the Jaeger, and I've been here with
Greedy Rim.
Tay Gypsy Danger Mation.
Callus the Kaiju Blue.
and we are Film Freaks with a Z. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See, all your guys' names like rolled off nicely. Mine was just like Greedy Rim.
Well, you got to be a little more creative. Like all yours seem to be, something greedy or something like that. You got to, like, maybe you could have been like maybe not
Gypsy
gypsy. No, maybe more like greedy danger or
Hannibal
something.
Waffles.
Marshall Greedy
Marshall
Waffles.
Marshall
Marshall Waffles. That would've been
Marshall
Marshall
Waffles.
Matters. Marshall Matters Waffles.
Marshall Mathers.
Oh, you're tugging at Callus's heartstrings now.